It really seems like Microsoft may have been caught lying, and this is never a good look for a company that's worth $4 trillion, who are basically the bane of the gaming world right now. This is like just one of those things that everybody's talking about it. People are kind of upset about what's going on. We don't know kind of what the future holds. People, rightfully so, are ticked off, and that's something that I feel like that's not enough of that's not enough of a thing to kind of dictate what's going to happen in the future. So we don't know. That's the main thing, is like we're not sure what's going to happen. There's a lot of places right now and that are like getting rid of their Xbox stock. They're doing things that really kind of show that they don't and they won't support Xbox in the future and things like that. And that's a very scary thought if you're like a fan of Xbox or whatever. It's like, Microsoft is doing these things where like they seem to be putting their focus on PC and cloud and stuff like that, and realistically are removing the reasons to own an Xbox console, a reason to be subscribed to Game Pass. And that's a scary thought, because I think a lot of us are realistically, if you're watching this channel, you probably are somewhat of an Xbox fan, and you want to be able to do things and play things and have your Xbox and all that kind of good stuff. And that's like really kind of the part that we're kind of seeing right now maybe come to fruition a little bit, where some of these negative things are starting to pile up, and I don't know if Microsoft's ever going to be able to kind of bring those things back to where people are happy or accept Xbox again. I think that's going to be a real question mark in the future. So that could be something that we see later on. I'm not 100% sure how they're going to handle this stuff, but like I've said numerous times before, anything can happen. And when you see like some of the lies and stuff like that, I think that really kind of opens up the eyes of the fans and things. That's honestly kind of where I think a lot of us are at right now. And when you look at this, so here's the thing. So questions surrounding the profitability of Game Pass have existed for as long as the subscription service has been in the market. All of us have kind of questioned this. And then, there's the other tact where people go, well, I don't care if it is or not, I'm just going to take advantage of it. And then what happens is, what do you do now? Right? Because it's not necessarily something that is there for everybody, and it's not exactly affordable now. Increasingly more so over the years, as Microsoft improved the subscription's value through various acquisitions like Bethesda, Activision, Blizzard, the widespread consensus was that it was too good to be true. An amazing deal for gamers, sure, but how long would even Microsoft, one of the most viable companies on the planet, be able to sustain it? Xbox executives such as Phil Spencer have repeatedly assured fans of the profitability of Game Pass, and now Xbox President Sarah Bond has done the same thing in a recent interview. Again, like trusting this woman is just like a snake in the grass, in my opinion. Saying last fiscal year, Xbox Game Pass sales reached a record high of $5 billion. It's a profitable business, and as more creators join the Game Pass, payments to creators increase, so we think it's a good business for creators. However, in light of the shocking news that the subscription service would now cost $30 on its alternate tier per month, with hikes in the other tiers too, fans have criticized Bond's statement. If it was already profitable and a good business for everyone, why did it have to subject to a 50% price increase? Is Microsoft caught lying? What's the deal here? And I think that's the part where people are kind of, a little bit shocked by, what's going on with the news and all this kind of stuff. Like, let's just be real about this. When you're making money and things are supposedly, like good to go, and you're happy with how things are going, I don't think you raise prices 50% or whatever the case may be, right? Like maybe that's just my crazy thought. I don't know. It's just like, could you imagine you've done all this stuff this year? Like, let's look at it. You've laid off thousands of people. You've closed studios. You've canceled numerous games. You've canceled contracts for third-party games. You did all these things. You've repeatedly raised prices on your hardware to where it's, $150, almost $300 in some cases more expensive than it was at launch. And now you're raising prices for the third year in a row on Game Pass, and yet you want people to believe that this stuff is affordable and that this stuff is making some kind of money. Realistically, I think it's kind of easy to see that maybe not as much as what they were trying to claim, and it's not exactly a situation where everything is kind of hunky-dory or whatever the case may be. Now, Bond conducted the interview a few days before this price hike, but as president of Xbox, which she is, it stands to reason that she was absolutely aware of the incoming news. Taking her statement as accurate, the only plausible explanation is that it is not nearly as profitable as Microsoft would want, especially as it starts demanding more from the Xbox division after spending almost $80 billion on Activision Blizzard and almost $8 billion on ZeniMax Media to boost the Game Pass lineup. Even with all those big games on the subscription service like Elder Scrolls, Fallout, Doom, Diablo, and Call of Duty, the subscription service hasn't grown as much as Microsoft wanted, or like some analysis have estimated. If it can't have more subscribers, Microsoft seems to have decided it will get more money out of those existing subscribers. Only it remains to be seen how many will remain at a $30 monthly fee. Shortly after the announcements, too many requests overwhelmed the webpage where Xbox Game Pass subscriptions are canceled. So, yeah, that's like the tone deafness of Xbox is unbelievable. Doing this kind of stuff, making it so that fans are kind of are punished for being like fans. That's the best way that I can put it. Quite honestly, it does really seem like that realistically we are in a really bad spot just all around because. Microsoft, they have the money to do things, they absolutely have the money to do things and make things happen. But at the same point in time, it's like they take no accountability for next to anything. And, it's really just a shame that this kind of stuff is happening the way that it is because, I would love to see something where, Microsoft was able to kind of make things better for everyone, people really liked Game Pass. I like Game Pass, but in my opinion, you've got to be able to let people have, you've got to be able to let people have something. You've got to be able to let people pick what they want. It's like, could you imagine a cable service? Like, some of you guys might remember cable or satellite. Like, they had these different tiers, right? Like, okay, get this and HBO included or whatever. Could you imagine if they were just like, we only have this option and you got to pay for all these channels and maybe you don't want all these other channels, right? Like HBO, Cinemax, Stars, this and that and the other, right? Like, that's what Microsoft's basically doing. They're forcing this stuff on the fans, and rightfully so, fans are pushing back. So it's honestly upsetting. And it's been one of those things where we've kind of looked around and seen what Microsoft can do. And Microsoft has been kind of going all over the place. They aren't exactly, pro gaming, in my opinion. It's just being honest about it. And when you look around at what they've actually accomplished in the last, say, 10 years, not much. I mean, there's been a few things that they've done that were good, but when you look at how they're kind of handling some of these things lately, it just does not really look good, in my opinion, right? The way they handled these announcements, the way they've kind of handled anything necessarily, it's like putting their biggest games on the PlayStation, just up in the price across the board. And it's like, I get it, like people want to blame tariffs or whatever, but you've got a $4 trillion company, and you're supposedly trying to get people interested in your platform, and you can't think of a better way to attract people, right? So if you look at their own metrics, they expected to have 58 million people on console have Game Pass by the year 2030. How are they going to accomplish that when you can't even hit 30 million consoles sold in 5 years and you're raising the prices? And then by all accounts, they're probably going to have an $800 to $1,000 console next generation if they have one at all. So yeah, it's a really bad situation. They basically got caught lying. Like, it's easy to put one and one together, but I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. Let me know what you think. Rack 'em up. Crap Gamer out.